Hi folks, in this video we are going to attempt to change the rear discs and the pads on this Vauxhall Astra VXR Mk5. Keep watching. Right, so we've got the car jacked up at the moment now. We're just going to take the rear wheel off and this will give us access to our discs and our pads. Right, also once it's jacked up, don't forget to take the handbrake off. What a lot of people do forget to do when they're doing this. So handbrake off and then carry on and undo your rear wheels. As you can see, we've got brand new discs here. These are the Pagid discs, which we're going to put on there. And also the pads as well, isn't it, Gary? And these are the Pagid pads as well. Just open the box up, hold on, bear with me. As you can see there, full set in there with all the necessary hardware that goes along with it as well. Right, well the reason why we're doing this is because these was actually pulled up on the last MOT as an advisory. There is a lip on the disc there. In actual fact, not too bad to be honest with you. The pads are, again, still got plenty of meat on them. To be honest with you, they really don't need changing, but we've got them, so we're going to change them anyway. So one of the first things we're going to need to do, if I don't know whether you're going to be able to see this here, but on the back here, to release the caliper, here, these, I think they're T18s, these Torx bit here. So we're going to have to undo these first. These are E18 by the way, not T18. E18 by the way. That's the two E18 bits out, and you've also got this little clip in there just to put a screwdriver in and pull that down like that. Take that little clip off and you should be able to pull that cable through there, and that gets the cable right out of the way then. So what we have to do now then is just take the first bit of the carrier off, which is undo these two nuts here, and that'll take the carrier off. And then you can get the pads off rather than take the whole lot off in one go, because we can't lift it off in one go because of the lip on the actual brake disc. So what we need now is to undo these two nuts here, top and bottom, and then we can release the top part of the carrier. Right, so these two are 13mm, so let's undo these. Now again, we might need to hold back on these because they start to spin, so now we need to mark the grips like that. And these again have got thread lock on them, so you're going to have to put thread lock on these when they go back on. And the same with the one at the bottom. Right, let's them out. That frees up the top part of the caliper now. And hopefully we should just be able to ease this away from the main part of the caliper. There we go. Okay, that's that out. And as you can see, the caliper then can fall out once you actually get this off. There's the piston, as you can see, which has got to be wound back in when we come to do it. And you don't want to damage the cable here, so ideally you want to be tying this up somewhere. Let's just leave it there for the moment. And as I say, there's the pads, and you also want to make sure that these pins remain nice and free, so it's worth taking these out and greasing these pins up underneath that, which we'll probably do a bit later on. So there you go, there's the caliper. Right, so okay, we've done that now, so all we've got to do is take this little Torx bit out that's supposed to retain the disc, and then we'll try and withdraw the disc. So that's what we're going to do now. And that is a T30 piece of this one, by the way. They're not normally done up very tight, so it's just to hold disc in place, stop it rattling about. So that's off now. Right, now the matter of getting the disc off. Now these can normally be simple or tight. So I've seen people do these online when they've been tight and they've used a puller around the whole disc to pull them off. We're going to try and tap it with a rubber mallet, so I'm just going to go and get one. I'll see you in a minute. Right, so we've just got a rubber mallet here and we're just going to try and persuade the disc off. How about that? That was one of the easier ones. How about that? Now, I wish they'd all come off like that. There we go, there's the disc. As you can see, it's quite crazed on the other side there, plus it's got a ferrule lip there. So that's that off. Right, and we just put some of this brake cleaner just to clean all the surfaces around here. There we go. We've got some copper slip here, which I'm just going to put a little thin smear around there, just to assist with if it's ever got to come off again. Only a thin smear, like that. Right, Gary's got the new disc now. Don't forget his hands are very clean here. We don't want to get this all smeared up and greasy. Sometimes you get these and they've got a protective film on them as well, so we're just going to clean this with some brake cleaner as well, and we're just going to clean this with some, again, brake cleaner, just to make sure there's no greasy residue on it. And there you have it, one disc fitted. So we're going to clean up the calipers now and get the new pads put in and wind the caliper back, which is up here. And what you get with the kit that we've got, you actually get these new metal clips here. You get the pads, and you also get the two bolts that go into the sliding mechanism, and they've already got the thread lock on, as you can already see there. So that's what you get in the kit. So all you basically need to do is just to make sure you put things back as they come out. So I'm just going to give this a bit of a clean out first. So I'll just give these a clean up. You ain't got to see that, and get back to you in a second. Right, so these are those pistons I was talking about. If you just pull back on the rubber boots there, as you can see, inside you can get a lot of grit if these boots are damaged. So what you want to do is to sort of clean these off as best you can, and then re-grease them up with a decent grease. And that's, don't use copper slip on that, use just a normal grease on these, because copper slip's got little bits of copper filings in them, sort of thing, so you don't want to be damaging them at all. So again, they just pull off like that, as you can see, and it's just a standard grease and a re-grease up basically. And then just basically, once you've re-greased them up, put them back together and make sure they travel in and out nice and smoothly like this. So we're happy with that. So all we've got to do now is to put our new plates on, which will just clip on like that. Okay, so all we're also going to do there is just to put a little bit of copper slip in the tracks there. That's where the new pads are going to run on, because you don't want to be getting no copper slip where your discs and pads surfaces are. There you go. Right, so that bit's ready to go back on. Put that over there, and we now got to work on the caliper to get the caliper wound back in. Right, so here we go. I've got the caliper here now, and all I've got is one of these tools. It's a multi-tool I've got off of eBay, which I used on the Ford Mondeo, and this has got an interchangeable head, which you can turn it around because it's got two different spacings, pin spacings. So I've got it so the wider pin spacings are facing outwards, and when I put that on there, that tends to go on to the caliper fine. So I'm just going to put this metal retaining plate in here. So this one is clockwise. This is the driver's side, the off side, which is clockwise, just to stop any confusion out there. And as I said, did I say that we've taken the lid off of the reservoir, the brake fluid reservoir, in the bonnet area as well. There we go. Okay, so I think that's wound right back in now. Take that out, pull that out, and as you can probably see there, calipers right the way in. Calipers right the way in, and there's no damage at all to the rubber boot around it, so we know we're fine there. So we should be able to now put the caliper assembly on with the brake pads in situ, and then just slide this over the top. So that's what we're going to do now. Right, okay, so I'm just putting the, again, pads in the end of the calipers there, and just turning them through 90 degrees, so that I've got them actually just sitting in there like that, as you can see now. So all I'm going to do now is to replace this over the disc. Before I do that, I want to get our large bolts, our E18 bolts, and just apply some Loctite to both of these. Comes in there. Like that. And so just on the back of the pads, not too much, just a little bit of copper slip on the back, and it's supposed to just aid the brakes in case they squeak. So right, there we go, not too much, like that. Keep your fingers clean at this stage, and just ease this caliper back into place over the new pads with the 2 new screws supplied. Locate them. Now again, once you do these ones up, you're probably going to need to hold back again, so right, okay then, so the E18 bolts have been done up. The 13mm bolts that hold the carrier, the floating carrier, have been done up. We've put the handbrake cable back in now, and the retaining clips there and there. And basically, all you need to do now, Gary, is to put your foot on the brake, and let's pull the drum up. Yeah, you might want to start the engine up, get the servo working. It's not in gear, is it? Right, put your foot on the brakes. Yeah, off. Yeah, back on. Yeah, off. Handbrake on. Yeah, off. Yeah, that's fine. Perfect. Okay then. How's the brake pumping up? Yeah, back to normal. Okay then, let go. Right, that's it. Turn the ignition off, engine off. And basically that is the job done. So we're going to do the other side now, so don't forget, if you're on the driver's side on the UK right hand version car, this one is a wind-in clockwise. So we haven't come to the other one yet, so I'm not too sure what the other one is. We'll do that in a second and we'll tell you. So we'll see you again in a minute when we get to that stage. Right, we're on the other side wheel now, and I just wanted to show you this in case you've got the same VXR and you might have different alloys on. We've also got these little spacers here, if you can probably see. These are little plastic spacers which you may or may not have on depending on which wheels you've got fitted, and all you have to do is prise them off. It's a little spacer for I say, depending on the alloy. which again, there's no threads on it, it just pulls straight off. But I thought I'd better make you aware of that in case you see that plastic thing on there and you didn't see it or us take it off in the video. Bloody hell, look at that. Look how easy that one come up and all. Unbelievable. Just shows you, doesn't it? Yeah. A lot of people have a lot of trouble with them. Right, we'll just give this a bit of a wipe out. Can I have that grease? Right. Okay then, right, we're on the passenger side now, and I just wanted to show you this. This is an alternative way of doing it if you haven't got a winding in tool. So all we've got here is a G-clamp, which is centered on the actual piston itself and towards the back of the piston. As you can see, there's a nut at the back there, and we've got a pair of mole grips here, or multi-grips, just holding the edge of the piston. And if you have someone like Gary's doing, just to hold the caliper, and all we're doing is turning it clockwise, both at the same time. There's no pressure really being applied by the spanner, but as it's turning, we're just turning the piston in as well with the handle, making sure you don't pinch the dust cover around the side of the piston. So we'll just continue to do this, and as you can see, it's going in pretty nicely. But as I say, you do need two people really. You'll be struggling to do this on your own, even though I have done it on my own before. And hopefully this will give us, I can feel it as you turning both at the same time, you can feel the piston winding in. So basically both of these rear calipers are wound in clockwise, as you can see, as we're doing this here now. So we're winding this in clockwise, and as you can see there, we're nearly there now, look. And so you just got to be careful when you get to the last little bit. And then I'm not putting no effort into this at all, look. And then turn, and there we go. And as you can probably see there, caliper's been wound in nicely now, as you can see, and we should be able to get our pads in now. And that was done with a G-clamp and a pair of grips, and both sides wind in clockwise, just to let you know. Right, we're going to put this back together now. You haven't really got to see that, you've seen it on the other wheel, and we'll see you in a minute. Right, so there we go. Lucky enough we didn't come up against many problems with getting the discs off and winding the calipers back in. But as I said, both calipers on the rear wind in clockwise. I'll show you two different techniques there. That little first tool I had, I got that for about £12 on eBay, and that's what I use for the Ford Mondeo. And that only works in a clockwise direction. Some of these winding tools, you can get them where they can do anti-clockwise as well, but we didn't need that in this case. Both calipers on this side wound in clockwise. So there we go, nice simple job, and hope you enjoyed this video and got something from it. If you wanted to tackle this job yourself, you'll be able to save a few bob. Anyway, thanks very much, hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again in the next video, and until then, bye for now.